Hey, Talia, good morning. I'm sorry I didn't hear you chime in there. How are you today? Doing okay?
Okay.
That is good. You sound either sleepy or sick, and I hope it's the first one because I never want anybody to be sick.
Oh no, it's neither. I'm just laying down.
Okay, no worries. Well, that is good. Good to see you today. All right, so you can sit tight, get yourself together. We'll give it a few minutes here. Hopefully, we get some more folks joining us, and then we will jump into it for today. Hey, Shabria, good morning to you. Welcome.
Hey, good morning.
Hope you are doing well.
What's the checkpoint that y'all completed already? That I gotta complete?
So we haven't done a checkpoint yet for this class. I'm actually going to go over the first checkpoint today. The only things we've done have been some of the resources under the first checkpoint, which are just I can put them in the chat to you so you can look them up. Hey, Tyquil, good morning. All right, so those two things should be under checkpoint one, Shabria, and that's all we've done so far. And like I said, we're going to go over the actual checkpoint today. That's what we're going to try and tackle this morning. Hey, Sammy, good to see you again. Double dip in here. Excellent. All right, y'all. Thank you again for logging in here. I apologize. I was checking it. What? Distracted by something here. But I'm going to send one more reminder out, and then we will jump into it here. But thank you all again for logging on today. All right. So welcome again. Real quick housekeeping stuff. Just another reminder that y'all don't have class on Friday, so you get a 3-day weekend because it is a teacher in service day. So just another reminder for that. And then don't forget to attend tomorrow on Wednesday mentoring, because remember, if you attend and you fill out all the right stuff, you can earn some money just for coming to class and participating. All right. So we'll give it a few more minutes to let some final people trickle in. But while we are doing that, I'm going to throw up a little do now question for everybody. If you've been here in class the last week or so, this should be no problem for you because it's what we were working on. If you missed a class or two and you're not 100% sure, that's fine. Just take your best guess. All right. But I'd like you to respond to this in the chat as our kind of warm up for today. All right. Excuse me. Define theme in your own words, and then define selection of evidence in your own words as it relates to explaining a theme. So if I say, um, make sure you have a good selection of evidence to back up, what you say is the theme. What does that mean? What am I saying?
The reason?
Yeah, definitely. The reason was that Talia?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just making sure because I can't see who's saying what when I share my screen. But yeah, selection of evidence would be, the evidence that you come up with, right, to back up what you're saying. So like the reason, or why you're saying what you're saying, and then think about where do we usually pull that stuff from? Where do we usually get that stuff from? All right. You can tell me that in the chat as well. Okay. And welcome to whoever else just joined us. So again, let's take another maybe like 2 minutes here and respond to this in the chat if you can. Again, define theme in your own words and define selection of evidence in your own words as it relates to explaining a theme. Hey, Kara, good morning. So go ahead and do that for me now, please. And then we'll see what everybody's come up with, and we will go from there. Okay. So like I said, take another minute or two here, put it in the chat when you come up with something. We already heard a little bit from Talia, which was spot on about selection of evidence. So what do you think the theme, what do you think theme might be? If I say, what's the theme in this story? What am I talking about there? And like I said, put it in the chat for me, and then we will go from there. Okay, what do we think? If we come up with anything here. All right, Sammy says theme would be the main topic. Definitely, you're definitely on the right track. Can we be even more specific there? Think about, especially as it relates to um, fiction and kind of when you say the moral of the story, or this is what we learned, is do we think the theme applies to that stuff too? I think I'll give it maybe 30 more seconds here if anybody has anything else. Trying to define theme and define selection of evidence. And we know Talia already told us selection of evidence would be like the reason, right, that you use to kind of back up what you're saying, which is 100% true. Sammy said the theme is like the main topic. Yeah, and the selection of evidence, Sammy also said finding evidence, facts of what you are saying. Definitely true. And I love how you said finding, because that's the big thing here is we have to pull it out and take it from what we read, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. All right. So I'll put these in the chat here. So theme would be like the moral or lesson that we learn from a story, right? At least when we're talking about fiction. Okay. And then Sammy was pretty much, and Talia were both pretty much spot on with selection of evidence, right? That would be finding facts or examples in what we read to back up um, our claims at the theme. When I say claims, claims meaning the arguments that we're making or the points we're trying to make. If I said the theme in Goldilocks and the Three Bears is, don't take what's not yours, or anything like that, then how do I back that up? That's my claim, right? Now, how do I back that up with evidence, etc.? Okay, that's what we're going to focus on today, ladies and gents, because we're going to run through the first checkpoint here on Summit. So what I would like everybody to do is, if you haven't already, please go to Summit and find our class, right? And I'll share my screen here and show you how to get there. And then I want you to click on checkpoint 1, which should say selection of evidence, okay? All right. So where you're going here on Summit. Hey, Keon, welcome. All right, finding our class, go to your year view. You want English 1 right here, right? Fact or fiction. And then you should see checkpoint 1 like this. And when you click on it, it should look like this. All right. And this is where we should be. Okay. So please let me know in the chat when you have that pulled up. Give me a thumbs up or tell me that you got it, so I know that everybody is on the right track. And I'll put it in the chat as well. All right. Okay. So that's where we're going on Summit. Again, one more time, when you find our class, Fact or Fiction, you should see checkpoint 1 right here. And then just click on the link like this, and then it should bring you to a page that looks very similar to this. Okay, you should see these two charts right here. All right. Like I said, tell me in the chat when you got it so I know everybody is there. I'll give you guys maybe another 2 minutes to find this, pull it up. All right. And again, this is where you should be on Summit. So when your screen looks like mine, you are in the right place. Let me know when you got it in the chat so I know that you are there. Okay. Haven't seen anything come through the chat yet. So, like I said, take about another minute or two. Thank you, Tyquil. Take about another minute or two to get this pulled up. And then what we're going to do today, ladies and gents, is we're going to go over the first table. And I'm going to walk you guys through how to do this. And then you guys are going to have the second table to do for the rest of the weekend, over the weekend, since I won't see you again on Friday because we don't have class, right? But it should be plenty of time to get that done. So take about another minute, minute and a half to pull this up if you still don't have it. When you got it, let me know in the chat so I know you're there. I have something from Tyquil. Thank you. Waiting for everybody else to let me know they are there as well. All right, so take about another minute. If you're still not there, again, please let me know in the chat when you got this so I know everybody has it pulled up. All right, let's jump into this here then. Let me check the chat one more time. Thank you, Kira. You got it as well. All right, so as you can see, top of the checkpoint says identifying theme and selecting evidence in fiction. We already talked about what theme is. We already talked about what selecting evidence is. So now we're going to practice that on this checkpoint. And as you can see in your directions, it says Mr. V will model how to do the first table. If you missed it in class, you can watch it on the Yes Philly YouTube channel. So I'm going to post, I'm going to edit this and I'm going to put the YouTube link in on the checkpoint as well. And then you can see down here, I posted a link because that's what you guys are going to use to fill out the second table. So to do this first table, I'm going to pull up this short story by Michael Oppenheimer called The Paring Knife. All right. So what are we looking for in here? We're looking for the theme, right? And Sammy already helped tell us that the theme is kind of the main topic or the moral or lesson that we should learn from the story. So if I'm filling out my chart, and again, you can follow along on yours and fill in exactly what I'm filling in so that you have the first part done. Okay, so the fiction text is called The Paring Knife. Make sure I'm spelling that right. Yeah, by Michael Oppenheimer. All right. So I have the text. So I have the text. Now I have to fill in the topic, some major details, and the theme. Okay. So now Sammy did say, the theme is the main topic, but now I have both words here. So let's make sure we remember that difference and that the topic would be like the subject the story is about. So we're going to see kind of what that is as we read. Meaning, is it about love? Is it about friendship? Is it about race? Is it about war? Okay, we're going to see if we can determine what the topic is. And then the theme is, again, that lesson that we're supposed to learn or the moral of the story, right? So that's how we delineate or know the difference between the two. So I'm going to go ahead and read through this. All right, it's pretty short, one or two times, and then we'll see if we can fill out that table. All right. I found a knife under the refrigerator while the woman I love and I were cleaning our house. It was a small paring knife that we lost many years before and had forgotten about. I showed the knife to the woman I love, and she said, "Oh, where did you find it?" After I told her, she put the knife on the table and then went into the next room and continued to clean. While I cleaned the kitchen floor, I remembered something that happened 4 years before that explained how the knife had gotten under the refrigerator. We had eaten a large dinner and had drunk many glasses of wine. We turned all the lights out, took our clothing off, and went to bed. We thought we would make love, but something happened, and we had an argument while making love. We had never experienced such a thing. We both became extremely angry. I said some very hurtful things to the woman I loved. She kicked me. She kicked at me in bed, and I got out and went into the kitchen. I fumbled for a chair and sat down. I wanted to rest my arms on the table and then rest my head in my arms, but I felt the dirty dishes on the table, and they were in the way. I became incensed. I swept everything that was on the table onto the floor. The noise was tremendous. But then the room was very quiet, and I suddenly felt sad. I thought I had destroyed everything. I began to cry. The woman I loved came into the kitchen and asked if I was all right. I said yes. She turned the light on, and on we looked at the kitchen floor. Nothing much was broken, but the floor was very messy. We both laughed and then went back to bed and made love. The next morning, we cleaned up the mess, but obviously overlooked the knife. I was about to ask the woman I love if she remembered that incident when she came in from the next room and without saying a word, picked up the knife from the table and slid it back under the refrigerator. Okay? So again, pretty short story there. So now we've read through it once. Maybe when you're doing this on your own for the second chart there, you might want to read through it twice. But now we'll try and unpack this and fill out this chart. So the first topic I have here or the first box I have here is the topic. Okay. So can anybody just off the top of their head right now uh, tell me what do we think the topic of this story is? Right. And again, remember, we said topics are like, the subject of the story. So is it a story about love? Is it a story about friendship? Is it a story about race? Is it a story about war? Is it a story about money? Right? So what do we think? Anybody who can tell me in the chat or coming off mute, what do we think the topic is here? Yes, Amy, I would agree. It's about him and his wife arguing. So we say the topic is uh, a man and his lover, or I could say a man reflects on an argument him and his lover had. Right. So that would be our topic. So we know it's a story about love, right? So we could even write, love first, and then if we want to get more specific, we have kind of Sammy's short summary there. All right. Now I have major supporting details, and then I have the theme. All right. What'll work best here when we do this, like when you do it on your own for this table, is if we actually work backwards here. That's what I find helps. Is if okay, we know the topic, so now I know, the theme or the lesson I should learn should probably revolve around this topic in some way or another. All right. So I find it's best, or it works best to work backwards and find the theme first and then pick out the supporting details, right? So what I want to do now is I want to go back and maybe I want to read through it one more time and see if I can figure out what we think the theme or the moral or lesson is to learn. Okay. So I'm going to read through it one more time. And as you're listening, following along, I want you to see if you can pick out what you think the theme might be. Okay. And then if you figure it out as I'm reading, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. All right. I found a knife under the refrigerator while the woman I love and I were cleaning our house. It was a small paring knife that we lost many years before and had forgotten about. I showed the knife to the woman I love, and she said, "Oh, where did you find it?" After I told her, she put the knife on the table and then went into the next room and continued to clean. While I cleaned the kitchen floor, I remembered something that had happened 4 years before that explained how the knife got under the refrigerator. We had eaten a large dinner and had drunk many glasses of wine. We turned all the lights out, took our clothing off, and went to bed. We felt we would make love, but something happened and we had an argument while making love. We had never experienced such a thing. We both became extremely angry. I said some very hurtful things to the woman I loved. She kicked at me in bed, and I got out and went to the kitchen. I fumbled for a chair and sat down. I wanted to rest my arms on the table and then rest my head in my arms, but I felt the dirty dishes on the table and they were in the way. I became incensed. I swept everything that was on the table onto the floor. The noise was tremendous, but then the room was very quiet and I suddenly felt sad. I thought I had destroyed everything. I began to cry. The woman I loved came into the kitchen and asked if I was all right. I said, yes. She turned the light on and went and looked at the kitchen floor. Nothing much was broken, but the floor was very messy. We both laughed and then went back to bed and made love. The next morning, we cleaned up the mess, but obviously overlooked the knife. I was about to ask the woman I love if she remembered that incident when she came in from the next room and, without saying a word, picked up the knife from the table and slid it back under the refrigerator. Okay. So now we've read through it one more time. So does anybody think they can pick out the theme just right away from reading it without kind of breaking it down any further? Or take your best guess at it? I'll put that in the chat as well. Again, remember, theme is the moral or lesson that the author wants us to learn, and we already know what our topic is. So, what do we think the theme might be? Anybody who can take a guess, just at kind of first or second glance here? What do we think? Anything coming to mind here? We have a couple in the chat. Sammy says they were arguing because of a knife. Definitely. I would actually put that into the supporting details column, right? Because that's something that happened. That's evidence, right? But when we're looking for the theme, we want kind of the lesson that we are supposed to learn. So anybody else maybe besides Sammy who we haven't heard from that much yet have a thought? Maybe Kira, maybe Shabria. All right. So I'm going to take what you said, Sammy. I'm going to put it up here in one of our supporting details. All right. I'm going to amend it a little bit because they weren't arguing um, because of the knife. Say him and his wife were cleaning and he found the knife that reminded him of their argument. Okay. So that could be one of our details. But what is that detail? What theme is that detail supporting? All right. If we look, specifically at the end of the story here, where he says, I thought I had destroyed everything. I began to cry. The woman I loved came into the kitchen and asked if I was all right. I said yes. She turned the light on and we looked at the kitchen floor. Nothing much was broken, but the floor was very messy. We both laughed and then went back to bed. The next morning, we cleaned up the mess, but obviously overlooked the table. I was about to ask the woman I love if she remembered that incident when she came in from the next room. And without saying a word, picked up the knife from the table and slid it back under the refrigerator. So, and hey, Amir, thank you for joining us. All right, we're talking about theme here today, Amir, and so we have read this short story, and we are trying to pick out the theme from it. All right. So those of us who have been here and we're following along, why do you think she puts the knife back under the refrigerator? She doesn't say anything, right? Because they're trying to clean, right? So why would she, if they're trying to clean, why would she put the knife back under the refrigerator? Yeah, and I like, Sammy also said toxic in the chat. I think that's definitely something. I think we're definitely on the right track there. So I'll put that in here so we can remember it. All right. Definitely, I think would have something to do with toxic, but toxic what, right? Why does she put the knife back under the refrigerator? Because again, if we remember the rest of the story, they're trying to clean and straighten up in the first place. So why put the knife back under the refrigerator? Why wouldn't she put it away where it belongs if they're trying to clean? What do you think? Can anybody else help me out here as well? I know Sammy is crushing it, but I'd love to hear from some other people as well. Kira, Kian. I know y'all are still out there. All right. Sammy says she doesn't really care. She feels bad. I don't know, maybe to remember. All right. I think you're on the right track here. I think she definitely doesn't really care because, think about it. This guy didn't even remember that they had that argument until he saw the knife in the first place, because the argument happened when 4 years ago, right? So had he not seen the knife in the first place, would he have remembered this argument, do you think? Yes or no? No, I don't think so either, Sammy. Right. So we can probably say she puts it back under the refrigerator to kind of symbolize, like, hey, what we argued about doesn't matter because we both forgot about it. So rather than be reminded of it, looking at this knife, let's just put it right back under the fridge and forget about it. Because as Sammy was saying, you know, we can say here arguments in relationships can be toxic, right? So I think, we can say by her putting the knife back under the refrigerator, she's trying to say, like, hey, having an argument uh, shouldn't be a big deal, uh, because if we love each other, eventually we'll forget about it, and so we don't need to be reminded of it. Yeah, exactly, Kira. Leave the past behind you. That's a really good way to put it too, right? I think I'm going to take that and put it right in the theme. Leave the past behind you. Don't focus. And then we could also add kind of like a little something here. Don't focus on, um, or we could say, don't dwell on uh, previous arguments, because you'll just forget about them uh, eventually anyway. All right. So now we have our theme. Leave the past behind you. Don't worry about it. And that's why she puts it back under the refrigerator, because it's her kind of saying, like, listen, we forgot about this. It wasn't even an issue until we saw the knife to begin with. So I'm gonna put the knife back under the refrigerator, just like and forget about it, just like we should forget about that argument. Because it doesn't matter. What matters is that we love each other, right? So now we have our theme, we have our topic, and now we can kind of work backwards and pick out the major supporting details that help, prove this theme. All right. And Sammy already gave us one. Him and his wife were cleaning, and he found the knife that reminded him of their argument. All right. What's another? So we need two more here. So what is one other supporting detail that we think can help support this theme? Anything you all can come up with? Again, if we look back here, at the story, we already said, he was reminded of the argument when he found the knife. Maybe another detail could be, what happens to the knife? What happened to the knife when they had that argument? Where does he eventually find it? What happened to the knife the night they had that argument? Again, where does that knife end up when they have that argument? Where does he eventually find it? We stumped there. And again, you can always go back and look in the story. So the very first line, I found the knife under the refrigerator while the woman I love and I were cleaning our house. So him and his wife were cleaning the house, and he found the knife that reminded him of their argument. We could say the night of the argument, the uh, knife got lost under the refrigerator and became uh, forgotten about, just like the argument itself, right? And then, like Kira and Sam kind of both told us, by the woman throwing the knife back under the refrigerator was kind of her way of saying, forget about this. Let's leave the past behind us, as Kira said. So then that can be our last supporting detail, right? Is uh, the woman puts the knife back under the refrigerator to be forgotten about again. Just like the argument, so that they can leave the past behind them and because they know that they really love each other. Okay? Trying to figure out the best way to word this stuff as I go here. All right. So if you have this pulled up on your end, that's how you can fill your chart out. Okay. Then, ladies and gents, what you're going to do next is, again, if you scroll down, you'll see a link here. And if you click on this link, you might have to click on it twice. But if you click on this link, it'll take you to this page, which is a PDF of a short story called Indian Education by Sherman Alexie, right? And they give you a little bit of context, a little bit of background on Sherman Alexie in this paragraph right here, right? But basically, Sherman Alexie was the son of um, a Native American father and mother who grew up to be very famous author, and he wrote a lot about his experience as a Native American, um, growing up. So this is a short story called Indian Education, where he kind of detailed that stuff. So it seems like it's a lot of pages, but it's broken down here, and each one is only kind of like a paragraph. So not super long at all. Okay. So what you're going to do is use this story, and you're going to fill out this second chart just like I filled out this one. You're going to put the text up at the top. You're going to put the topic, which is like the subject of what the story is about. You're going to put the theme, and then you're going to work backwards and figure out what are your supporting details that help to support this theme. Okay. So what I'm going to do for the rest of our time today is I'm going to leave uh, my chart up here for you guys to copy down onto yours. And then once you get that copied, you can start working on the second table down here. And then this completed checkpoint, both top and bottom, is what I should get from you by no later than beginning of class on Tuesday. Since we don't meet on Friday, so you guys have the whole rest of the week and weekend to get this done. So no reason I shouldn't see this from everybody. Okay. So like I said, I'm going to leave mine up here for you guys to copy onto yours. And then what I want you to do is, if you understand what you need to do, what you need to finish and work on, I want you to give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat, please. Excuse me. All right. So please do that now. Again, you can copy my table onto your checkpoint. And then if you understand what you need to do after you finish this table, click this link, look at the story, and then fill out this table the same way. Give me a thumbs up so I know that you know what to do. You can put that in the chat for me, please. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to go on mute and let you guys work on this. And then I'm going to check back in about 5 minutes or so. Okay. And again, I want to see those thumbs up in the chat so I know everybody knows what they need to do, what they need to work on. Thank you.
Bottoms up, bud.
All right, y'all. I'm seeing some people kind of have to start to sign off here, which is fine. Again, I didn't see a lot of thumbs up come in the chat. So I'm going to assume you guys are all good to go if you didn't ask a question. But again, that whole checkpoint should be completed no later than beginning of class Tuesday. All right. So if you weren't able to be on your laptop today, or you were kind of half following along, then you can check the YouTube recording later on today, and it'll be up there for you to follow along and get the first table done, and then you're doing the second table on your own. Okay. Questions on anything before we skate? All right. So let's try this one more time. If you understand what you need to do, what you need to work on, please give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat before you leave. Once I see it from you, then you're good to go. Okay. And if you don't, or you're unsure, if you have questions, you can shoot me an email or you can come see me in the Summit Lab later today. All right. Kira, I got yours. Thank you. All right. So Keon, Mir, Shabria, I'll give it like another minute. Then if I don't hear from you guys, I'm just going to go ahead and end the chat. But again, if you understand what you need to do for the checkpoint, give me a thumbs up or yes in the chat, and then you guys are good to go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Again, if you have questions, let me know or come see me in the Summit Lab. And if not, I'll see you guys again on next Tuesday because remember, no class Friday. So good job today. Thank you guys.